The year is 1941. The world is in chaos. Disney, more importantly, maybe, is in chaos. Pinocchio, Fantasia, The Reluctant Dragon. Yes, I'm sure you've never heard of it, but it's out there. It exists. All failed at the box office. Disney lost access to half of the release markets around the world. Animators on strike in the Disney offices. The expensive Bambi is delayed in production. Disney needed a hit fast. Dumbo.
Dumbo is abound. You didn't need giant ears to hear what was going on with it. I'll let you boy.
Dumbo was a huge part of the childhood there, but I mean, that's just one of those cartoons. You know, I was Robin Hood, Jungle Book, Dumbo. That's just something that I was going to watch on a Saturday, man. So watching it, you know, for the assignment, man, this was awesome. And I watched it with the family. I made it a family affair, man. We all got to enjoy it. And my middle child said, "Daddy, this looks like a new old movie."
And this was made on the cheap side. This was animation on a budget. Disney basically trying to make it quickly and cheaply to get it out. They desperately needed a hit. And I mean, if you compare it to the two animated epics that bookend it, Fantasia and Bambi, Dumbo doesn't look like it quite fits, at least as far as the artistry involved.
Yeah. That's different. I see that.
I mean, yeah, some of the shapes and the forms and stuff, but hey, it's very colorful. It's very colorful, and I think that helps hide and get around what are some of the air quotes cheaper animation. Perhaps I'm pulling that from an orifice there. Maybe I'm completely wrong. I've been called an a-hole for less on this show by the commenters. So, you know, that's just what I see.
It is very colorful. I will give you that. And if there is one masterful thing that this film does is, even though the animation in the background, like the Song of the Roustabouts, the men have no faces, Timothy Mouse on a longer shot is like a ragdoll puppet, etc. But the characterization, the expressions on the characters is masterful visual storytelling. Dumbo, the lead character, doesn't speak throughout the movie, and yet still maintains this deeply emotive personalization. It touches you on a different level than some of the even more highly produced animated films, I believe. I saw this film when I was a very, very young kid. In fact, I rented it at the video store so often that my parents, probably after having spent hundreds of dollars on renting Dumbo, they decided to freaking just buy it. And this was back in the day where VHS, I still remember how much it cost. They spent $30 in 80s money to buy a 63-minute long animated film about a flying pachyderm.
How many times did you rent this mother beep before that ended up being a cost of like
$30 in the 80s, bro?
Yeah.
I mean,
30 in the 80s. Do you know gas was less than $1 a gallon in the 80s, bro?
They could have saved a lot of money just by taking me to Disney World and having me ride the damn thing.
Oh boy, here we go.
You could get
Which they
two
did.
cheeseburgers for $1 in the 80s, bro.
Well, see, now that you've compared it to cheeseburgers, I truly realized that my parents were fools, I tell you.
60 hamburgers for you to watch some damn packaging, Chief.
That's a family of 12. Everybody.
I probably would have gone for it. You know, it's kind of funny. I remember showing this film to a friend of mine in college, a girl who had never seen it, and she got a very, very different reaction than I expected. She was legitimately freaked out by the scene that you would think would freak out kids, but it's the one scene that just fascinated me. As a child, I was just drawn into the pink elephants on parade sequence. It is, as far as animation, since we're on the topic, as far as animation quality, it is kind of the standout sequence of this film. In my review years back on hilaritybydefault.com, here's your plug, requisite plug, I had a still and I made a joke that this is what Tim Burton's nightmares must look like. I swear to God, he saw that and said, "Damn it, Demos, I'm going to bring your Nostradamus-like premonition to life."
if you got your drink ready, go ahead and get it, because I'm all about that experience. That was just the use of colors there, and it's completely abstract to what the entire film has been. You know, the film was that old school. It was like, say, a little bit country. And then the Pink Elephant Parade was a little bit rock and roll mixed with some psychedelic shrooms, man. I absolutely love that part. It's the high before the fall.
And then he flies, so it works. I'm wondering what's the Disney life lesson here. Depression plus alcohol equals Wonder Elephant soars to fame. I mean...
Well, when you hit rock bottom, Demos, you need to go to a higher power, which is step and early R&B style music. That
Yes. Get drunk and get some jive scarecrows to motivate you.
I mean,
the music in this film, I mean, the music won an Oscar. The clever wordplay and just the joy of, I'm going to say it, ever seen an elephant fly is just, it's just a freaking joy.
I mean, it's obviously meant to be a happy song, no question. And hey, not for nothing, you mentioned everywhere the music's fantastic. The goddamn train has a theme song that'll get Casey Jr.'s coming down. Come on, bro.
I love the fact that they worked in. I mean, this isn't just a story of Dumbo. They filled in a lot of other smaller fairy tales and stories in there. I mean, they fit in the little engine that could.
Yep.
With Casey Jr. and the entire stork mythology, which even as a kid, I was always fascinated by the storks and the idea that they bring kids. But I was a precocious young bastard, you know. I'm thinking I think to myself, I've seen the church nativity scenes. I don't see a freaking stork anywhere. Did I miss something? Mark 1:26? Behold, a fowl has come, and he brings forth a holy child.
Well, Demo, see, listen, man, you doubted the spirit too soon, because in order to have aim that damn good, you have to have that kind of divine intervention. You're going to try to tell me that a stork from however many thousand yards in the sky is going to let drop a baby and have it just float down gently, just so, into the damn hippo pen, which is also underwater, and just boop, 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 boop. I mean, see, that... I felt the touch of God. God got involved. All right. That's right. God came down from heaven and dropped these motherfucking babies. I brought Pulp Fiction, TJ. Pulp Fiction
and Dumbo. Jesus.
What you gonna do?
They gonna do nothing.
I've seen Pulp Fiction. I can think of a few things, but I don't recommend them.
Correct.
Am I the only one that wanted to like throw some pocket sand in that gang of elephants' faces?
Right in their eyes.
Like, I wanted to just dig deep in my dirtiest of pockets and just throw a heaping pile of pocket sand at all of them, because they were just reckless. Who talks like that to a child?
Well, hey, bro, like you saw Jumbo, like, or Mrs. Jumbo, or whatever you call Dumbo's mom. Like, that's why she ended up
Ms. Jumbo. Ms.
Correct. Absolutely right. We don't want to assume anything. That's correct.
Actually, she is called Mrs. Jumbo.
So this story really did just get a lot deeper. Like, was she turning tricks before the circus? I have new feelings for this film now, man.
And they never explain anything about the father. But you know what? Dumbo does fly. And the stork delivers Dumbo.
Right.
They have something in common there.
Oh.
Hold on now, I gotta finish the service.
He sings Happy Birthday while Dumbo's still in the sack. I mean, that's akin to a doctor saying Happy Birthday while a woman's going in labor.
So you do realize, Demos, you do realize now that you have to Photoshop Marilyn Monroe with a stork for her head. You know that now, right? You know you just made that happen.
What did I? No.
Happy birthday, Mrs. Jumbo.
No. And that predates that too, now that I think about it. Do you think? Nah.
The answer to all questions is Dumbo. That's it.
I guess this might be a good time to talk about the elephant in the room.
Oh God! And what's worse, I didn't see that coming. Oh.
You're welcome. I guess I actually I feel kind of sorry about it, but you're welcome anyway.
That completely changes the movie Moana. Now. What can I say except I'm sorry? You know.
So in recent years, there has been controversy surrounding this film and its specific depiction of the crows, to the point that they've been downplayed in most media.
I think context of the time the film was made is important. And what I believe was trying to happen there, and forgive me for being wrong, my name is not Disney, nor do I have the ability to channel Walt as a psychic medium or anything like that. But what I think it was, what it looked to me like, an opportunity to expose that style of music to kids. And really, you know, regardless of how they spoke, you know, when they weren't singing or any of that, what I kind of picked up is the crows are more of an outsider even than Dumbo or Timothy at this point. And I got no beef with them because at the end of the day, they are characters, regardless of whatever undertones may be picked up or not. They help throw the big pocket full of sand in the face of those lady elephants at the end of the day. So they're all right in my book. I mean, you know, that not to steal your build there, TJ, but let me tell you, pocket sand in the face of those elephants very perfectly describes what needs to happen to them.
I didn't like it. I wasn't a fan of the broken English. I mean, you have Timothy, who's, you know, very well spoken, you know, and he's doing his thing. You know, he's a well spoken mouse. And then you have these crows that I'm sorry to say, it's obvious what you're doing. I'm not trying to be that dude, but it's just the material that you're putting in front of me is from a time where people were less than considerate when it came to generalizations and caricatures. And ultimately, that's what this is. They're caricatures of what people believe. There are a lot of people who the only interaction that they will have with people of color is what they see on TV. So if all they see is negativity, and I'm talking back then, that's all they hear, that jive talk. That's a certain type of people. And that's all they're gonna hold on to that. I need other representation. I'm glad that it wasn't. I'm glad that it wasn't a bunch of white dudes trying to do jive talk. Cool. Thank you for that.
But you mentioned right now. You mentioned specifically jive talk. That was a thing at the time. I mean, but it jive talk by its own. But what it is a type of broken up English. Is jive just by its very nature offensive? I'm just trying to clarify.
I'm not saying that it is a negative. I'm just saying that if the only thing that you are promoting is that people of color act a certain way, have it continues to raise a because there are parents that don't raise their kids, that just put them in front of the TV and say this is truth, and if they aren't there to balance it, then that's why we have generations of kids that are ignorant as hell.
So and what you're saying, there is a lot of there, TJ. I'm not arguing your point, but I think what needs to be put in for context is an element of 78 years of hindsight here we can also apply. At the time, there was no real, this was the better, air quotes, representation that was seen in film. Quite possibly. I mean, I'm not prepared to say that I'm an expert on 1941 film, nor am I prepared to say I'm an expert at living in the time, because it didn't. In 1941, when it was made, these are offbeat country crows. I mean, do you change the character? How should they be voiced? I mean, if they're supposed to be of the country, they're not going to be talking like in Game of Thrones. So like from a creative standpoint, I don't know what else you do. But by the same token, everything you say is completely valid. So that's the catch-22 I think we're facing here. Would you agree?
Well, I mean, the thing about it is you as a creative person have the creative you can put out whatever product you want. I, as a consumer, have a right to like or not like it. So, they could have done something else. They could have made them all sound like Bruh Bear. Even then, you still run the risk of offending some slow-minded person that says, oh, they're making fun of me. When you're creating something, you have to do what's true to you, and if that's how they wanted to do it, then that's how they wanted to do it. I'm just saying that now, looking back and looking at our country in a snapshot, I wish that's not where we were. Objectively, I want to make sure that I make this point. It fit with the film. Dumbo wouldn't be Dumbo without those crows. But I have a feeling about, the broken English. I ain't never had seen that's not how I speak.
I was a kid, so I didn't think about race relations and everything. For me, I thought the crows were the coolest characters in the film. They were the most intelligent characters in the film.
Second,
if anything, even through their jive talk, they had better wordplay than any other character in the film.
And Demos, I know I'm interrupting you. I apologize, but that in itself, isn't that a message? I mean, right?
Well, I never got the impression that it was a hurtful or negative portrayal, because the characters, they end up positing, it sounds redundant, but end up positing positivity. If you look at the overall...
I love it.
Yeah, if you're looking at the overall theme of Dumbo, it's a story about a character that has been ostracized from a majority for looking different. If you were to apply the racial connotation to the crows, and like I said, as a kid, I just thought they were crows. But them deciding to join and support Dumbo to overcome that adversity, I can think of a more positive message. But then again, if you take it into the historical context, most of the crows were voiced by black singers with the Hal Johnson Choir. Now, Hal Johnson was a famous black singer, very prominent at the time. He had a big ambition to share and bring Afro-American music to the masses, and one of the ways that he wanted to do that was by partnering with Disney and infusing some of the films at the time with that kind of music. When I See an Elephant Fly is, like I said before, not only the best song in the film and catchiest, but it's definitely went a long way in bringing that music. I don't know. I think that nowadays anything can be objectionable without the nuance, without the understanding of history. And of course, we can see how far we've come in certain portrayals from that time. Nowadays, when I see the scene with Timothy Mouse sneaking into the ringmaster's ear and saying,
"You are now getting that climax,"
and then I see Ringmaster O-Face yelling,
"Dumbo!"
Ringmaster O-Face, are you bored with your current hula hoop? Bring in that action with Ringmaster O-Face.
Once they started drinking, the movie takes off. It's not sad anymore. I'm not thinking about the mom being taken away from Dumbo anymore. I'm thinking I got pink elephants, then I got some cool crows singing and stuff, and then he goes and he flies. Boom. Everything's hitting from there.
Let's get to the big question. Is Dumbo required viewing, and what are your overall thoughts of the film?
Here's the thing. It's tough to declare anything like Dumbo required reading for adults. That being said, if you're a kid, yeah, I think this is a movie that all children should see at some point. I feel like in 2050, if I'm still on the planet and I'm like, that kid's got ears as big as Dumbo, people should know exactly what I'm talking about. Why am I getting that look? I don't understand.
I was just wondering if that's what you're going to sound like at 70. Like, what?
Boy, I've had a rough life. Who are you, you son of a bitch?
Now, tell me, Ezekiel, what is...
The path of the righteous man is beset on all sides by the inequities of the weak and the tyranny of evil men. Blessed is he who in the name of charity and goodwill shepherds the weak through the valley of darkness. For he is truly his brother's keeper, and and I will strike down upon thee with great vengeance and furious anger. For those who poison and destroy my brothers, and you will know my name is when I lay my vengeance upon thee. $50 says that makes the 2020 year-end episode.
Gentlemen, I got one word for you. Dumbo.
Yeah, I think it's required in the stance that all children have seen it. If you are above the age of 20 at this point in your life and you haven't seen it, let it go. No Frozen jokes, Demos. But
I was kind of worried about you, actually.
Hate. Oh, wait, I'm one of the two people on the show with the daughter. Never mind. Fair point, Demos. Shut your face. Anyway, no. Yeah. If you are currently in college right now or at a trade school or whatever, and you haven't yet seen Dumbo, knock it out and climb out from under the rock you're under. That's all I gotta say about that.
I liked it. I liked it as a kid. Watching it, most recently, I remembered some of the emotions that I had watching as a kid. I didn't like the time when the mom was like cradling him, because it was slow. It was slow. But watching it now, I see it's sweet. It's a really sweet moment. And it's a phenomenal moment because all she was doing was protecting him because some colonizers wanted to come and do some stuff they didn't have any business doing. And she was protecting her child. And look, if you have never ever listen to anything that Tokyo J said, listen to this. Take note from this movie. Don't touch a person's kid, ever. That ain't your business. That ain't your child. Put your hands on a person's child. You're asking for what you get. Those kids ask for what they got. And I feel bad for Mrs. Jumbo because she ain't got Mr. Jumbo no more. And she just taking care of little Dumbo by herself. And she done got off them streets. She ain't tricking no more. She's doing real good for herself. I'm proud of her. And then she gonna get thrown in the asylum. That is cold as ice. I just made this a lot more than what it was. But is it required? Absolutely it is. Kyle said that every child should see it. If every child sees it, then everybody sees it. So everybody should see this film.
And they'll learn the lesson and not to touch other people's kids. But I got to ask, so you said colonizer. Did you mean the kids or did you mean those other elephants that need sand thrown in the face? I need a clarification on that.
Well, in that particular moment, I was talking about the children and the parents that weren't doing their job and watching their children. Also, the adults that weren't doing their job and keeping the kids away from the elephants in the first place. Everybody failed Mrs. Jumbo today. Everybody failed her.
Do you understand? You just let a child that close to a pack of the world's largest land mammal. What in the entire...
I never quite thought about it, but it's true. Dumbo is the Disney story of a tough, hellbound single mother.
And listen, honestly, because you see the way she's ostracized, you know what it really is. The ones turning tricks ain't Mrs. Jumbo. It's them other elephants. And they don't like that Mrs. Jumbo made a life for herself without doing that. Sure, she had to work triple shift at the damn diner to do the thing while Mr. Jumbo was dying of cancer and going to chemo treatments and shit. And now she's without Mr. Jumbo. And the last gift Mr. Jumbo puts on the planet just happens to have big ears. But these elephant prostitutes are going to judge. The is that? What just happened?
I never thought I'd be censoring my Dumbo review, but here it is. I could see the perspective that it should be required viewing for younger kids, but I also kind of think of one of the reasons this film was a big success in 1941. It was released just mere weeks away from Pearl Harbor, and it was a story of Dumbo is the ultimate underdog story. They might as well change the phrase to Under Dumbo, except it probably doesn't sound quite right.
Under Dumbo.
Actually, it sounds pretty freaking cool. It definitely resonates across all ages. When people think of Disney, they tend to think of the saccharine. They tend to think of the overt sentimentality. And in the story of Dumbo, well, it's kind of there in spades, but I think it works in this kind of story. Overall, I think that Dumbo is brief and delightful. If anything, it's a victory of elementary storytelling. So yes, I do believe it's required viewing.
A victory of elementary storytelling. Demos, that's boss as hell.
Sure.
So what did you guys think? Do you guys think that Dumbo is required viewing? What are your thoughts on the more controversial aspects of the film? Let us know in the comments below. TJ, thanks as always for joining us right here on Required Viewing. Where can we find you?
In the gutter.
Any particular gutter? Does this gutter have a .com attached?
It does. It's Twitter. And that's
the gutter.
The gutter. TOKEOJ. Same thing on Snapchat. I can also be found on iTunes if you search Dinner Time. Holla at your boy.
Well, that's a little inaccurate. It's not that they can find you, they can find me. Oh, wait, but they can find you too. Oh my gosh. That's amazeballs. By the way, I know that you have been portrayed in the past, Big TJ, as heartless, but I ask you this. How on earth can you rob families out there of 60 hamburgers just to please young Demos with a $30 VHS tape just so he'll shut up? Who's the heartless one now? You food stealing son of a. Anyways, of course, I'm Kyle Nash, the student of the game. You can find me on Twitter at the SOTG. Find me on Instagram as the same, the SOTG. Find me on Facebook as the student of the game. Check out my sports goodness on sportsmediapass.com, a product of Blue HQ. And check out my writings at the Dolphins Wire of USA Today.
That $30 was a good investment. I still have that VHS tape.
You better, you food stealing son of a.
Respect.
And of course, you can find me, hilaritybydefault.com. Fun stuff every single day on Twitter or the gutter at Default Hilarity, on Facebook and Instagram, Hilarity by Default. Check us out here, right here, where life is hilarious by default.